Imagine you are a military engineer in 1945. The war is over, but a new one is already beginning, colder, quieter, and far more dangerous. You have a bomber that can fly from the United States to Moscow and back, carrying a nuclear weapon. The ultimate deterrent, the crown jewel of American air power. There is just one problem. The moment that bomber crosses into Soviet airspace, enemy interceptors will tear it apart, and no fighter in the world has the range to fly with it. So what do? You build a fighter that lives inside the bomber. A tiny jet, barely 14 feet long, no landing gear, no ejection seat, just 30 minutes of fuel, carried in the bomb bay and dropped into combat when needed. It defends the mothership, then flies back up and hooks onto a trapeze beneath the bomber to be reeled back inside. On paper, it was genius. In practice, it nearly killed its only pilot every single time he tried to come home. This is the story of the McDonnell XF-85 Goblin. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why one of the most creative ideas in aviation history vanished without a single combat mission, and why its failure still flies with us today. To understand the Goblin, you have to understand the fear that built it. By 1945, the United States was betting everything on the Convair B-36 Peacemaker, a bomber capable of flying 10,000 miles with an atomic bomb aboard, designed to make war too costly to start. But the war had already proven the lesson brutally. Send bombers over enemy territory without escort, and they get destroyed. The raids over Germany in 1943 cost hundreds of aircraft and thousands of lives before the P-51 Mustang finally gave the bombers a guardian they could trust. Now the ranges were intercontinental. No fighter could match the B-36. In March 1945, the Army Air Forces published a requirement for a Parasite fighter, a jet small enough to fit inside a bomb bay, launched in combat, then recovered by docking back onto a moving trapeze. Every major manufacturer read the specifications and passed. Lockheed passed, North American passed, Republic passed. Only one company said yes. McDonnell Aircraft Corporation, a young firm from St. Louis with a reputation for taking the jobs nobody else would touch. Their engineers did not hesitate. In October 1945, the Air Force ordered 2 prototypes, and McDonnell's team gave their creation a name that matched its hunched, brooding shape. They called it the Goblin. The name would prove appropriate in ways nobody intended. Picture what they actually built. 14.5 feet long, wings that folded inward like a butterfly's. A bizarre 5-surface tail arrangement that never needed to unfold at all, giving the pilot full control from the moment of release. No landing gear, just a reinforced steel belly skid for emergencies, because this aircraft was never designed to touch the ground under its own power. At the nose, a skyhook for latching onto the trapeze above. 4 .50 caliber machine guns embedded in the fuselage. One turbojet engine pushing it to a theoretical 650 miles per hour. It looked like something between a flying potato and a science fiction prop. Every person who has stood next to one in a museum asks the same question. This was real. This actually flew. It did, almost perfectly, right up until the moment it had to come home. By mid-1948, a modified B-29 Superfortress fitted with the trapeze system arrived at Muroc Air Force Base in California, the same type of aircraft that had dropped the atomic bombs over Japan. The crew painted it bright yellow and called it Monstro. The assigned pilot was Edwin Schock, a combat veteran who had shot down 4 Japanese aircraft in the Pacific and bombed a carrier at Leyte Gulf. The right man for an impossible job. After 5 captive flights studying the aerodynamics, on August 23, 1948, at 20,000 feet above the Mojave Desert, Schock was released from Monstro for the first time. The free flight was beautiful, stable, responsive, clean. Then he had to come back. The moment he approached the trapeze, turbulence hit. A wall of churning, compressed air threw the tiny fighter in every direction at once. An invisible cushion built between the two aircraft, pushing the Goblin away the closer it got. Schoch corrected, missed, reset, missed again. For 10 minutes, he fought it. Then, on his final attempt, the Goblin surged forward. The hook missed the bar. The canopy slammed directly into the trapeze structure. It shattered. Plexiglass exploded through the cockpit. The bar tore off his helmet. His oxygen mask ripped away. At 20,000 feet, with no canopy and a broken hook, Edwin Schoch was still flying. He pushed the nose down, dove toward the lake bed below, brought the Goblin in on its belly skid, and slid to a stop in a long streak of dust and sparks. He climbed out, unhurt. 7 weeks of repairs followed. During that time, Schoch flew hundreds of practice approaches in a conventional jet, mapping the turbulence patterns by memory, learning the exact moment the air cushion peaked, training his hands to find the window of control that lasted only fractions of a second. The engineers increased the trim authority by 50% and refined the trapeze mechanism. Everyone believed the worst was behind them. When testing resumed, Schoch successfully docked 3 times in the next 4 flights. The system worked, until the final flight ended with the hook snapping clean off. Another belly landing, another cloud of desert dust. And then the AR Force asked the only question that mattered. If the best test pilot in the program, a decorated combat veteran who had spent weeks doing nothing but practicing this single maneuver, could not make it work reliably under ideal conditions, what would happen to a regular combat pilot over enemy territory, low on fuel, at the end of a dogfight, with battle damage on his aircraft? There was only one honest answer. In October 1949, the program was cancelled. 3 things finished it simultaneously. The MiG-15 had arrived, a swept-wing Soviet jet that was faster and more capable than the Goblin would ever be. Aerial refueling was maturing fast, making conventional fighters viable as escorts over intercontinental ranges without any of this complexity. And the test data made the argument impossible to ignore. 7 flights, 2 hours, and 19 minutes of total flight time, 3 successful recoveries. All were performed by one exceptional pilot under perfect conditions. Both prototypes were pulled from the flight line and sent to museums. Never carried by the B-36 they were built for, never flown in combat, never seen by the enemy they were designed to stop. But the Goblin did not disappear entirely. Every turbulence measurement, every compressed airflow calculation from those brutal docking attempts fed directly into the engineering of modern aerial refueling systems. The invisible wall that broke the program became the foundation of a technology that flies every single day. The Goblin's failure built something that has since saved countless missions and countless lives. Some machines try to steal the future and vanish quietly into museums, where people walk past without knowing what they once almost were. The Goblin tried to steal an entire doctrine. It left nothing but a ghost and the bones of everything that came after. If this story stayed with you, Lost Wings is exactly where you belong. We find the machine's history forgot, the ones that tried, the ones that almost worked, the ones that changed everything even by failing. Subscribe. The next one is already waiting.